Thanks for clicking on my video. I'm alive and I'm doing well. I'm sorry that I've been away from making Marvel Snap videos for so long, unrelated to my enjoyment of Marvel Snap. I'm still engaged in the game. I still plan on making videos. I have a video coming out for Nightmare and so many other decks. I just had some things unrelated to Marvel Snap that have prevented me from making videos. And I'm extremely excited to be back here. There's some important things and very relevant things that I want to address about this whole fiasco that's been happening with the release of Kid Omega and the high voltage overdrive event. But more than any, like I'm really passionate about that. I have a lot to say, as you can see by the length of this video that you clicked on. But more than that, I'm excited to be back engaging with you, my audience, my subscribers, the people who I genuinely love. And so I would love to engage with you in the comments. Let me know your feelings about this high voltage overdrive fiasco, but also just let me know what has there been other things unrelated to this that you've been enjoying in Marvel Snap. What decks have you been playing this season, since I haven't been around since last season? What decks have you hated playing against? So I just would love to engage with you again because I've missed you guys. I'm really, really excited to be back here. Now, to the video. And if you're still here, this video is just going to be unedited. There's going to be some large gaps while you'll see me just sitting there. It's because I don't want to go through and cut those all out, because I just kind of I've had so many emotions about this that emotions is the wrong word. I have thought about this so much over the last day and thought about, if I am going to choose to make a video about this, what am I going to say? And everything I say, I have care and feeling in. So thanks for being willing to click on this and watch it to the end. If you don't mind, I have some things to say also to you specifically at the end of the video that I hope you stick around for. Thanks for watching. Love to talk to you in the comments. Really excited to be back with you. You are the people that excite me. Rest assured, I am still alive. I have not died. I've just been busy with some life things that sadly have prevented me from making videos. But I'm here. Life is kind of back to normal. I'm able to make some more videos. There are other videos unrelated to this sad topic coming out, particularly about the new card Nightmare, which has been a lot of fun. You can expect that tomorrow if everything goes according to plan, in addition to some other decks that viewers have requested that I make that I'm been having a lot of fun with, and I just need to actually get the videos out for. And what a bummer that even though I'm not dead, Marvel Snap might be going that direction. And I say that carefully, and I don't mean that hyperbolically. Really kind of frustrated and disappointed and saddened and all those negative emotions that this first video that I'm able to come back and make after being gone for about 3 weeks is one that is a complaint and a rant and so negative. I had recorded a video for Nightmare, just deciding that I was not, I didn't want my first video after coming back to be I'm here to complain video. Look at me, I'm coming back to complain and be the good guy complaining for the community. And so I recorded the video on Nightmare. I was editing it, just didn't feel right. These complaints, the issues with high voltage overdrive and how that is related to the larger issue of Marvel Snap is something that is worth addressing. And it felt like I was out of touch if I didn't talk about this. So here I am talking about this. If you aren't familiar with what is happening in Marvel Snap, there's a new game mode that started a few days ago and has 6 days and 15 hours left, as you can see. High voltage overdrive. I'll leave my thoughts for the game mode itself here in a moment, but it's come with a lot of problems because of this progression track that you can see here at the top. I've been playing the game mode a lot, and then that's progression track and the earning of volts that you get by winning games throughout the progression track from daily rewards, those types of things, allowing you to purchase things in the shop. The frustration comes from the price point of the shops, with the new card that everybody wants of Kid Omega literally being impossible to acquire, highly improbable to acquire through the game mode of earning volts and this collection track. You are going to have to spend gold or play an unreasonable, nearly impossible amount of games to win volts to purchase Kid Omega for 5,000 volts. Forgetting if you want to try and pull Cobra, the bad card from this Spotlight S system that I don't think was supposed to be a Spotlight. I think this was supposed to be Helion and Mercury, similar to what we had before. And then if you want to get something else like a variant or these cool emotes, you're out of luck, because that's just a lot of gold that nobody wants to spend. This entire topic, talking about the pricing and how that's a problem for the game and its implications on the economy, and that's reflection about Marvel Snap and all those types of things, have been handled by creators other than me that, frankly, are more connected to Marvel Snap, and especially over the last 3 weeks have been more connected to the community than I have. I don't want it to be this way, but I got a new job and some things have been happening in my life, and my schedule has been very busy. I haven't been involved in Marvel Snap over the last 3 weeks. That's abnormal. I'm going to continue to be in Marvel Snap. I'm not going somewhere. I just poor life timing. So I'm going to leave the handling of this math and all the problems that this brings about to those other creators. If I could suggest one video to you, it would actually be It's Guest Gaming. I will link that in the pinned comment. It's 40 minutes. Put it on like 1.25 speed. I recommend you watch the whole thing. One, because that helps out Guest a lot, who's really kind of going out on a limb to talk about the things he is in the unique relationship that he specifically has with Marvel Snap as being like in the creator program and working with Marvel Snap. I'm not in the creator program. Maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot by doing this and never getting in that creator program, whatever that is. I've applied, Second Dinner, if you're listening. But I really, really appreciate his video. I feel like he addresses all the points, and he's also in a unique position where his perspective is particularly valuable. And I also think that he's not overly negative. Sometimes these videos feel negative for the sake of being negative. This is problematic. This is something to complain about. It is something to express our negative feedback on, and that feedback is important if we care about this game. However, sometimes these videos that creators make, and I'm not like calling out any specific, sometimes it just feels like, oh, this is bad. I need to complain because I'm a creator and I care about the game, so let me complain. It doesn't feel like it's showing face. It doesn't feel like lip service. It feels like genuine complaints that those creators have themselves. It's just, anyway, I'm using that not to necessarily speak down about the other videos, but to speak up about It's Guest Gaming video. I just felt like it was particularly valuable in addressing these issues. Go ahead and watch that. I can't address those things. I don't have that unique perspective, but I do have my own unique perspective, particularly from joining this new company that I have, this new job that's been going really good. I enjoy it if you're interested. And some insights that's given me that I just wanted to talk about. Are they going to solve the problem? No. Are they particularly solutional? Like, are they particularly important? No. Are they helpful to Second Dinner or to the community? I don't know. But they're just on my mind, and I figured that I would share them as this is something that I want to address. I feel like it needs to be addressed, and this is like all I have is my perspective. All anybody has is their perspective on this, and I figured that, hey, why not? I'll throw in my 2 cents, see what they're worth, and share my perspective. Overall, the problem, to summarize it simply, is that the economy of this Vault system is quite problematic, and then it's way too expensive. Everything clearly is way too expensive, and the communication and the promotion of this new high voltage overdrive game mode and Kid Omega and Cobra was very different. That these cards were going to be obtainable through playing the game mode, and it's just mathematically impossible. I think a mistake was made there at some time, and what the larger problem has been Second Dinner response to this, in a response from is it Glenn that is the community manager? I don't know him personally. I agree with something that Guest said rather well in the video, and I felt this way on my own when I read it. I don't know Glenn, and I also don't read all the team answers. So what am I talking about? For those of you that aren't in the Discord and aren't like connected to Marvel Snap like a drug, first off, good for you. That is much healthier. Continue to stay that way. You don't need to be in the know about everything that is happening with Marvel Snap. But what has happened? People have expressed their complaints and their concerns about Kid Omega, and specifically the pricing of Kid Omega, and kind of just like the problematic and frustrating and negative and like genuinely a negative experience pricing. And I'll talk about my aspect of that negative experience related to Kid Omega and this new high voltage overdrive game mode. In the official Marvel Snap Discord, there's a place where you can submit your questions to have them answered by the Marvel Snap team. And they're answered by different members. Sometimes they're answered by a QA member, or they're answered by a developer or a game designer or someone on the balance team. They are frequently answered by the community manager, Glenn. I think his name's Glenn, because his job is to manage the community. Like, that's his job, and he's involved in it. He gets a bad rap, and I think any community manager is going to get a bad rap because they have the impossible challenge of dealing with unrealistic community expectations and unrealistic company expectations, and the misalignment of those two things, and they just get caught in the crossfires. They're kind of the face of the bad news sometimes. That being said, I don't know Glenn personally, but my feeling from his response is that he genuinely cares about the game, and he cares about the players, and he's pretty good at being a community manager. He feels like he cares about the community and wants to manage it in like a caring, good way. He's passionate about the game. This response that he had, that I will just screenshot and put on the screen. There's a whole bunch of drama related to this response, and It's Guess Gaming handles that drama way better than I can because, frankly, I've not even really connected to it. So again, watch that video for more of the details. But the consensus and like the takeaway, not the consensus, the takeaway from this is that it just really fell flat. It felt like this was a corporate approved statement that wasn't actually coming from Glenn. He didn't write it. He was being told that this is how he had to respond. They had to edit it. It's just like domino effect of bad PR, and really feels completely disconnected from the players and the player experience. There is this weird obsession in Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap is the first live service game that I've ever been actively involved in. I've played other live service games, but I've never really engaged in content about the meta. I've never like the term the meta, in fact, was very, very new to me when I accidentally stumbled upon Marvel Snap content. When I started playing Marvel Snap originally, I had no idea that people made YouTube videos about it. I had no idea that it was this big of a game, that it was this popular, that you could play it on PC. I thought it was just like this random kind of niche, cool Marvel game that I had found on my phone that people liked playing. Or that I liked playing. I did not know that many people played it. And then I found this huge community, and here I am making videos about it. So my perspective is limited because I haven't engaged in other live service games where, there's a community manager and there's a public Discord, and you engage in the public Discord and you're able to engage with the team, and the team has feedback for the community and the community has feedback for the team. Like, that is a really weird experience to me as a gamer. Like, I wouldn't call myself a gamer typically, and particularly the games that I play, are older school. I'm whatever. This is just an interesting experience to me, and my outsider perspective of this is that it's rather weird, and that this community of Marvel Snap is kind of demanding and like overly critical of Second Dinner sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I have made multiple videos criticizing Second Dinner, including this one. But I often feel that the community is like overly negative and like overly obsessed and overly addicted to this game. I'll have another video about that topic that I recorded forever ago and never released. That like, this is rude, but I often feel that the negative like community attitude comes from people having an unhealthy relationship to Marvel Snap, and then that bleeds. And that's like a whole other thing. But my point is that the community isn't particularly safe. Like, it's not a great community. Like, I'm saying this wrong. I don't engage in the community enough, and I'm not calling anyone in the community toxic. It's actually a rather welcoming and encouraging community. I've said that many times, and I feel so thankful for the people who have subscribed to my YouTube channel and commented on my videos, that I've found an amazing audience, and that you are that community. Like, the people in this community are kind to one another. They are very supportive of creators. They're very supportive to me, and they're fun to engage. I enjoy engaging with you. So let me try and say this a second time and take back my incorrect statement. The like attitude of the community is unsafe to Marvel Snap, not to community members, if that makes sense. Like the community has this weird attitude toward Marvel Snap that almost feels like Marvel Snap can never win. That negative feelings towards Second Dinner, or towards the status of the game, or the balance, or an OTA, or a certain card being released, is that the negative drastically outweighs the positive, even when the positive is really, really good. And there are complaints and things, but there's also like things that like, why are we complaining about this? It's weird to observe that, and I don't completely understand it because I'm new to it, but overall, I just feel like the attitude that the community largely and on average has is a scary place that, like, if we want to give Marvel Snap an identity, that game has to exist with. Like, if I were Marvel Snap as a person, I would not want to be in this community. What's interesting is that as a person, I like being in the community. I hope that this is making sense. Marvel Snap is on thin ice with the community almost constantly, and Second Dinner even more so, as they're kind of viewed and portrayed as like the evil overlords that are messing up this game that people have such like an aggressive passion for. And I get it. It's a game that I want to thrive. I'm making this video, and I make other videos about Marvel Snap because I enjoy the game and I don't want it to go anywhere, and I want the game to be successful. And I want people who play the games to be able to play it and continue to enjoy it. all of that said, it is interesting to me that for the first, I would say for the first time, it feels like there is a genuine problematic disconnect from player feelings, the consensus of the community, and Second Dinner, the developers of the game. I don't know what the consensus is of like an average player, not like average is the wrong word, like a non-as engaged player, like a more casual player who isn't in the Discord, who isn't, engaging in YouTube videos all the time. They may not even know that this is all happening, right? They get their blog posts from the in-game notification, right? I don't know what their feeling is, but the people who are heavily engaged in the game, it feels like that feeling of the community, Second Dinner is truly disconnected from. I think that there is a part of that is the direction that Second Dinner is wanting to take Marvel Snap in, as far as like card acquisition and how many players should be collection complete, and that like just that whole kind of attitude and like expectations of a card game. This is like Marvel Snap is a card game, and it's a free-to-play game. And I think the attitude that Second Dinner has about what type of card game should it be, what are the expectations that players should have, and what type of card game this is, and what type of card collecting experience this is, particularly the collection aspect. I think Second Dinner's attitude about that, and about what type of free-to-play game or like pay-to-progress game should Marvel Snap be, I think is moving in a different direction than the community. And while I think that direction is reasonable and healthier for the long-term viability of the game, and healthier for new players, and like healthier for the longevity of the game, they are going about it, like if that is the direction they're moving, the direction that I'm assuming, they are going about it in the most abrasive, frustrating, dumb, horrible PR, bad management way. So what do I mean by that? Why am I talking about this? A while ago, someone left a comment on one of my videos that I was complaining about in Second Dinner, and I think it was talking about card acquisition. And they made a point that particularly in the free-to-play aspect, what they want is the ability to set a goal, right? Something that they want to acquire in the game, a card, credits, progression. And that goal is determinable by them, controllable to some extent by them, and that they have ways that they can progress towards it free to play in a way that is fair, for lack of better words, compared to people who pay to progress that. That yes, as a free-to-play player, their progression in that journey will be slower, but the progression is still there. In a way that it's payback for the part that they're playing in keeping matchmaking times down and keeping the game alive and an active player base, which is important for those paying players. If I can find the comment, it will be posted here on the screen maybe, and the user who posted it, thank you for that insightful comment. And I think that that's really smart. I think that that's something that Marvel Snap has kind of struggled with, in that if you want to progress free-to-play, it's a constant moving target of, I want to unlock this card, how I do it, oh, we have spotlights coming up, how do I plan my resources for spotlights, instead of like, I want a card, let me work towards it. I want a certain deck, let me work towards it, even if that progression is going to be much slower than someone who's paying. So with that idea in mind, I think most people have some similar idea to that, particularly with a free-to-play, not free-to-play, with a limited-time game mode. And that also becomes because of the way Second Dinner presents that limited-time game mode. I'm pretty sure people have gone through the initial blog post that we got about, like the season launch blog post that talked about high voltage overdrive, and how it says statements that you'll be able to unlock Kid Omega and Cobra by completing missions and progressing through high voltage, like giving the idea that, oh, if I engage in the high voltage overdrive, I have the possibility to unlock Kid Omega and Cobra. Okay, I'm gonna step aside from I'm gonna ignore the cosmetics. I'm gonna miss out on these really cool emotes. I'm not gonna get any credits or any mystery borders or this heavy metal border. I'm just gonna get the cards, and I can do that. And maybe people who are paying to play, they can get more than me, or they can get it faster than me. I think that that's a reasonable expectation for what we have been given by Second Dinner to come into a limited-time game mode with. It's also been our experience with other limited-time game modes. Even when they've been grindy, it's still been like, the grind is achievable, it's just a grind. Or now it's just like flat-out unachievable. there's a second half of this conversation that I'll just address right now, and that's it. That, like, is that the right expectation? Should we always expect that going into a game mode we just get the card? That, like, that is the outcome of a limited time game mode, is getting the card, and that if you don't get the card, the game mode is wrong? I think that there's more to analyze in that, and why, like, players' feelings is so strongly in the direction of, like, I deserve to unlock the card from the game mode. No questions asked. I need a way to achieve it, free to play, blah, 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 blah. But whether that's an appropriate expectation or not, the reason that that expectation, I think, is reasonable to have in this situation is because it's the expectation that we were almost given to us by Second Dinner. There's an aspect in teaching principles where you lead them to an inescapable conclusion. The inescapable conclusion that we have now all arrived at prior to how this limited time game mode was released, and I had this drastically, was that Kid Omega and Cobra would be unlockable by playing the game. Technically, in some caveat, that is true. You can play the game and get, but you you literally have to pay to make it happen. Again, there's another part of this conversation where it's like, is that the right expectation to have? Is that the inescapable conclusion that Second Dinner should be leading the community to prior to a game mode? I have my thoughts about that, but they did lead us there, and so we are here, and then it's totally different from the conclusion that they led us to prior to the game mode. And then they're, like, not apologizing for that, and they're almost, like, making us feel dumb for thinking that. Where it's like, well, I thought that because of what you told me. Like, I didn't just imagine this. In fact, I think at one point when I was reviewing Elixir and I talked about Kid Omega, I said, I don't even know how you're going to get him. What if it's not even reasonable to get Kid Omega, so don't plan on getting Elixir just for Kid Omega? Like, I think I've said that. If not, I should have. But then after the fact, the information does come out, and then I come up with the idea that, yeah, I'm going to get Kid Omega from the game mode. And not having that experience, and then almost being, like, the response to, like, be so removed from that, like, almost not validating or acknowledging the very jarring, real experience of having that expectation, and then the shop not matching that expectation is jarring, and it's a bad experience as a consumer of the game. It's not enjoyable. It's like when you go to you get one of those marketing emails from your McDonald's app, and they say, oh, McFlurries are 50% off, and you order in the app. So you order in the app for your 50% off McFlurry. You're so stoked. You're going to get your Oreo Flurry, and it's cheap. And you drive to the McDonald's where you place the order. You have submitted your money. You are waiting. Your mouth's watering. You're about to get, and then they say, oh, our ice cream machine is broken. Okay, I get it. Ice cream machines break sometimes, but, like, why was I allowed to order? Why was I allowed to go through this? I was not thinking about a McFlurry until you told me to think about a McFlurry. So then I got it because you told me to, and then you can't deliver it to me. I had this expectation about getting Kid Omega from the game mode because you gave me that idea. And now you can't deliver it to me, and now you're mad at me that I have that idea. It's just a jarring, really, really uncomfortable experience. So this really is kind of just a rant at this point because my thoughts aren't going in any particular direction. I'm just kind of dumping them out of my brain. And so shifting topics quite dramatically to think about is this other idea that I think is really, really weird and making the state of the game almost impossible to exist in with the direction that Second Dinner, like with the architecture and economy of the game that exists the way that it is. I am not a game developer. I'm not an economy developer for a game. I think economy development of a game is very tricky, and I don't want to pretend to know that and to balance that. Like as an example, maybe parents will understand this. I have a 1-year-old daughter. I'm sure it gets even more challenging as your kids get older. In fact, I know it does. As a parent, someone who has children you're trying to protect and raise and help them be good humans. There is a balance of how much do I reward? How much do I discipline? What's the right amount of sugar that they should have in a day, as an example? Like, you're trying to balance all of these things. You're trying to balance, like, the economy of their life, if that makes sense. Now, imagine doing that for however many players there are of Marvel Snap, and they're all ornery, and they spend way too much time on the game, and they've invested money in it, so they really feel like they deserve it, and they're a little bit entitled, and they're hiding behind internet keyboards, and so they're overly aggressive. Like, you just aren't going to win in that situation, ever. And so I just think that like game economies are challenging for that reason. Could Second Dinner like literally start completely over with the economy and make something totally new? Yeah, they could. I mean, same way that they could suddenly make all these characters based off of Avatar: The Last Airbender instead of Marvel Snap. Like anything's possible, but like what's reasonably possible and what's realistic and what's actually right. To say, it's weird to me, and I've said this many times before. You do not need every card in the game. I don't know why this particular community is obsessed with having every single card. It even affects me as a creator, and there's other topics of that like the creator tax of trying to be a new creator in Marvel Snap, feeling like I have to get every card and trying to manage both in real life and game resources to like achieve that is stressful, and like it makes me feel like I'm not good enough as a creator, and that I can't be a big creator because I don't have the resources to do that. Like it's a challenging scenario to be in because people are obsessed and most interested in the newest thing, and there's this weird compulsive, aggressive, entitled need that I deserve the new thing and I deserve it through the means that I deem I deserve it through. I don't know why people are obsessed with being collection complete. There are so many cards that I do not play. In fact, if I switch the screen and go to my collection, and then I sort by newest and show you just my favorites, I have not played Hellion. I have not played Jennifer Kale. Yeah, let me do... Alioth. I've literally never put Alioth in a deck. Super Giant, I like hardly ever play. Jessica Jones, okay, that's a bad example. Cersei, I don't play that frequently. X-23, I don't play hardly ever. Century and Titania, I don't play very frequently. Red Hulk, I play extremely infrequently. Spider-Man 2099, I'm never playing. I'm not ever really playing Hercules. I don't play Cloak. I don't play High Evo. I don't really play Jean Grey. I don't even play Death, for crying out loud. And the list can go on and on and on and on about all these cards that you don't need. Also, from another extent, you want to know a really, really cool card? This is a perfect example. Isan, what a cool card. You look at this card and you're like, well, I want that. Because it's cool, and you want cool stuff. Who doesn't want cool stuff? Realistically, how frequently do I play Isan? Pretty much never. Same thing with Agamotto. You look at Agamotto, oh man, what a cool card. I want that because it's cool, and we want cool stuff, and that's reasonable to want that. I hardly ever play Agamotto. Hardly ever. I've literally never played Uncle Ben, right? Diamondback. Don't even think I've ever tried her outside of that initial week when I tried playing a deck with her. Blink. Hardly ever played Blink. Right? I mean, even Ares, like, oh, Ares, I want a search. I want the Surtur deck. I want that new Sauron deck, right? That deck's really meta. It's performing well. I want to do that. And then I put Ares in there, and then he misses a bunch of the time, and I'd be better off just playing Crossbones. Like, you don't need every card, and there's this weird obsession that, like, I need every card. And I understand that the way that the card collection works in this game, it's easier to get more cards the more you have, especially the way that token pack or card packs has changed. So there is, like, I get it. I get why there is some legitimacy to that feeling of, like, I need more. That's also just, like, our culture and the way that we are kind of born to think is to be a consumer, and then we need more. And that also is what mobile games prey on you to do. Like, mobile games need you hooked. They need you engaged in the game constantly. There's a reason that you are able to get 25 credits, adding up to 75 credits in 24 hours, but you're not able to collect 75 credits at once. The same reason the game has missions that reset on the weekend, reset every 8 hours. Like, you being engaged in the game is how the game controls you. And if the more hooks that they can sink into, like, and gamification is an interesting topic to think about, and how gamification and the idea of, and like the dopamine heavy drip of gamification, and how, like, progress bars like this and the collection track, and like being one reward away, like one notch away from that next reward, is genuinely like the science of addiction. It is like what mobile games prey on. And it's a bummer that in such a good game like Marvel Snap that could be so loved and adored and a really, really healthy game that genuinely doesn't need that. It doesn't need those addiction sinking hooks. It has because it's a mobile game, and the economy of a mobile game is rewarding to being a mobile game. I'm all over the place with this, so I don't even know if you're still following me. If you are, thanks for being here. Leave a like. Let me know in the comments if you're still following me, if you get what I'm saying. It's just frustrating to me as someone who wants people who play the game to enjoy playing the game, to see them not enjoying the game because they feel they can't until they have every card. And they feel like ripped off by the game for not having every card. And it's just a sad mindset. It just, I have another video that I've been working on slowly on this topic because it's actually something that's rather important to me. It's sad that people limit the fun and enjoyment that they can have out of a good game because of what the game and the community associated with the game has made them believe is the most important parts of the game, and that for some reason is collection progression over playing it for enjoyment. So that's tough. That's a tough environment for Second Dinner to have to design a game and design rewards and to design economies to work within. Especially when you kind of read between the lines of what Second Dinner is doing and their answers to questions and kind of the comments that they've just made about progression and everything that they said related to snap packs and the way that cards are released on like the cadence of card being released. All to me reveal is that's not how Second Dinner views the game. I don't, and I see comments on Reddit or see comments on YouTube videos like, "Oh, I've been free to play forever. You know, the game, the last season pass I bought was Surtur, and it felt like it was really fun. And now the decks that I play against are the decks that are like have the most meta newest season pass cards, and I just can't compete." I frankly think that that's total BS. If you can't compete with the deck that has the season pass cards in it, the newest ones, is that because those cards are truly that game-breaking busted? Or is that because the way that you're playing the game is like I'm not saying skill issue. Like, yeah, maybe to some extent. But that's not the root of what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that I really don't think that is as big as a problem as we make it out to be in our head. And I'm not going to be that Reddit user who says confirmation bias, because it's not that. I think it's really just attitude. Attitude is a powerful thing, for good or for bad. And if your attitude of the game is that you are being shafted by the game, that the game is out to get you, that you are at the disadvantage because of the game. You're not at a disadvantage because of your opponent. You're at a disadvantage because of the game. You're always going to see the game as an enemy who is pushing you down. And you don't need to, because you can thrive in this game playing Quicksilver and Domino. Go watch the video about how to actually reach Infinite, the first video I made about decks to get to Infinite. I will share the deck that had Quicksilver and Domino in it that got me to Infinite multiple times. Is it harder? Yes. Is Infinite the only goal of the game? No, that's another issue. Is that the ladder has literally sunk its hook into you and made you think that the only success that you can have in this game is if you are climbing on the ladder. Instead of I logged in and I had enjoyment playing a game that I enjoy. And that was fulfilling. That was a successful session in Marvel Snap. So that just dumpage of my brain is any of this helpful? What's the takeaway? If you're still watching 34 minutes in or whatever this edit ends up being, and you're still here and you're thinking like, what is he even talking about? How does this impact me as someone who clicks on play Marvel Snap, like clicks on the Marvel Snap app and plays? If you are being influenced by this community obsession with being collection complete, do what you can in your own faculties to remove that obsession. You do not need it. please do not think that when I make videos about the new cards that I'm being hypocritical. The reason that I'm getting the new cards, and I'm saying this because it's a delicate situation to be in, is because I'm trying to make a successful YouTube channel. If I was not playing, I'm playing this game for two reasons. I'm playing the game because I enjoy it, and I'm playing the game to now make videos about it. And those have different objectives. So, if I make a new video about a new card, I'm sorry, but that's because it's videos that people are going to watch. Do not think that I'm trying to tell you that you need the new card. I would be very disappointed in myself as a creator if I was making my audience believe that they had to have more than they currently have. And that's just an attitude unrelated to Second Dinner or to Marvel Snap as much as it is an attitude related to Marvel Snap. That being said, there's also some call out to myself as a creator that audience members, in fact, look at this. You can see him right here. Source 3 Energy. You comment a ton on my videos. I love talking with you. You submitted 2 decks and asked me to make videos about them 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and they're here. I just haven't gotten to the videos yet. Why? Because I prioritize making videos about the newer cards. That's not healthy. That's not how you, if I got to be the leader here, if the creators are the leaders of this community to some extent, if that's an appropriate thing for me to say, I'm not trying to be elitist or prestigious in any way. I'm doing a pretty bad job at leading people to the right attitude that you don't need everything and you don't need the newest stuff. So that's on me. But yeah, you don't need everything. I am really, genuinely, I'm trying to decide if when I get to 12,000 volts, do I just buy this emote and just ignore Kid Omega and buy him with tokens later? I think so. The interesting thing is that Kid Omega seems to be a pretty crazy card that people are really enjoying based on the data that I've seen about him. But guess what? Here we go again. Yeah, guess what? I have been having... Oh, yeah, I got to keep the screen... I have been having incredible amounts of fun. True fun. When I was not making videos about the game and I was just playing the game for fun because that's... if I couldn't... I was so busy that I couldn't make the videos. I was just going to play the game for fun. You know what I was playing? I was playing some joke of a deck with cards like Infinity Ultron, Kahori, and Star-Lord. And it was so much fun. I literally had Infinite with this deck, and it has a negative win rate. Or negative cube rate. Whatever, one of the two. One of them's the math doesn't make sense, and I'll talk about that in my decks to Infinite video. So you can look forward to this. It's been so much fun. And it's one of the most hated cards to be released recently, and he's my new favorite. I love it. Anyway, where was I going with that? I don't know. My thoughts are going so many different directions. Oh, yeah, Kid Omega. I'm probably just gonna get the cosmetics that I really like because these emotes are less than half the price of the card for both of them, and they're cool. They're good emotes, so I'll probably just do that. So the last thing, and what initiated me getting down to record this video, that I probably should have started with. I'll make myself bigger as I talk about it because it has less to do with everything else on the screen. I am genuinely concerned about Marvel Snap and Second Dinner. And I don't mean this to be running around causing a bunch of panic. The game's not going anywhere immediately. It's also not going anywhere in the long term. There's enough in the health of the game that it can be healthy. But there are things happening that make me worry if that health can be taken away. What I'm saying. I think the game is at a healthy point. I don't think it's at an unhealthy point. But what is being revealed through this high voltage overdrive fiasco is that there are some things happening from my perspective with the game in Second Dinner that could very quickly deplete that health. What are those things? And can we do anything about them as players of the game? I feel that I have a unique perspective in being someone who has a career in a professional environment outside of gaming. I have no idea what other content creators do professionally outside of content creation, if they do anything else outside of full-time content creation. But being a content creator is very different than working in an enterprise organization. I have no idea how big Second Dinner is. I'm very, very confident that the company that I now work for is bigger than Second Dinner. That's not like a boasting thing. It's just organizationally and logistically, it's just larger. And that's fine. However, Second Dinner, I feel, is large enough and has enough assets and enough bureaucracy and enough logistics and enough to manage and enough teams managing aspects of the Second Dinner portfolio that being engaged in that environment can add some additional perspective that might be helpful that maybe other creators have missed. As an example, and I hope that this makes sense to people, if I, at the company I worked for, wanted to send a marketing email, meaning the emails that are sent to people, our customers, to motivate them to buy our products. If I wanted to send one of those, which is actually what I do for my job, if I want to send one of those, because of the nature of our product, there's a particular level of aspect that I have to identify the product and the type of campaign or like what do I actually want to do with this email? And once I identify that, I have to get the appropriate teams involved. Okay, this person is in charge of this product. So I have to get them involved so that they know that their product is going to be promoted by me and we associate any discounts happening. And then I have to go to another team and say, hey, can you write an email for me? It's called a copywriting team. Why can't I just, like, if I want to send the email and I'm the person sending the email, well, why can't I write it? Well, it's because there's a brand voice and legal complexities and claims complexity and like all these things associated with writing that I am not an expert on because I spend my expertise in being a marketing expert. And while there's some bleed over there if you're in the industry, it doesn't matter. What matters is that because of the assets that the company has, because of the components that make up the company, because of the products that make up the company, there is an extra layer of complexity with the number of teams that have to be involved. And in some ways that's bad. And in some ways that's really, that creates some great strength because you get people who are experts at what they do, doing it expertly. And then you are able to put those pieces together of experts doing their thing expertly, and then you get something incredible. And that's really, really true. And there's some magic there. And I think in some ways, Second Dinner has really done that with Marvel Snap. Like you take people who are really good at visual effects and sound effects, and you take people who are pretty good at game design, and then you take people who are really good at like technical coding, like not game design, but like genuine game development. And you combine those things and you get something that I think all of us feel is pretty magical about Marvel Snap, is that when you play the game, for the most part, it's pretty, for the most part, unbuggy, while being both visually and audibly compelling and enjoyable, and also being a game that from a gaming standpoint is fun to play. They've had those moments where the experts doing their job expertly put the pieces together to make something that is great. Right now, so having that experience and knowing what it's like to work in that environment daily, and knowing what it's like for a company to have to try and pivot when they have that environment, and like to make up for mistakes when they have like things are slower in that environment because more people have to get involved, and every time you hook someone else onto this thing that you want to do, it slows down. I have no idea what's happening at Second Dinner, but my perception, based on my experience and again, kind of reading between the lines and all of those types of things, is that there's so much else happening outside of what we, the community, believe to be happening with the game. I think that generally the community thinks that Second Dinner just can push a few buttons and make everything right. And I think that through the internal logistics, it's not that fast and it's much slower. In addition to like the internal direction and internal achievements that they're trying to get. Like, forget the actual logistics of it, which have their own complexities. Just how those logistics also fit into the objectives and achievements that Second Dinner is actively wanting to work towards. Like, all of those things have to mesh together in a way that makes sense. And sometimes things go wrong because of that. And this, to kind of take this all full circle, and this is what I'm worried about for the health of the game, I don't know how. So again, using that analogy, those people, those experts doing their individual job expertly to then put those pieces together. In this scenario that we are now in Second Dinner, I don't know how those pieces come together in a way that makes sense. There are aspects of this where an expert doing their job expertly did it, but it was not cohesive to what other people were doing, and it created a misalignment, which has created an uncomfortable experience for the players. I don't know how they fix that because I'm not involved in the gaming industry in that aspect to know which one of those pieces are that went awry. You also have on top of that they also have to make these pieces fit together in a way that the community is pleased with. And the community is generally in the position of being displeased. So you're at a constant, you're fighting an uphill battle. And not like that's been just part of the experience of being a Marvel Snap player and someone who is so heavily engaged in Marvel Snap and thinks about it so much. And that's been okay. And like most companies and like most people, you just kind of muddy through your mistakes and you like ride the victories as much as you can and let the mistakes pull you down as little as you can let them. But now, for some reason, just feels different. It feels less recoverable. It feels more problematic. It feels like there is a division and a divide happening. So again, in this scenario, right? So I talk about all these teams that you've got to get. And if you, like, if let's say it's 4 teams, you get 4 teams, each one with their kind of area of expertise, and they're not able to see eye to eye, you're going nowhere. Or they're going to go their different directions while also trying to maintain the direction of the company and the product, and suddenly things just get awkward. It is really, really messy when they're trying to do new things to make up for a problem that happened, but continue this old thing that they've been working for on a long time. Like, it just gets... And then as an employee, have like 6 different projects you're working on, and like, which one is the priority? And then someone has, you're waiting on someone else to finish something, what. And it gets conjumbled enough when people are working together in unison, and it just feels like that unison is gone. I can't point to specifics of what Second Dinner has done to make me feel that way, but there's something about it this time that this sounds overly alarming, so don't take this with a seriously large grain of salt. When this began to happen and kind of the fallout that has come out from this event, the feeling that was in my gut that I had was, wow, I would be stressed if I were a Second Dinner employee. And it was less so like, oh, I'd be stressed because the community, like my audience, my customers are mad at me. And more so this feeling of like, wow, the things happening internally in Second Dinner would be stressful to deal with, was the feeling that I had. So what do we... So you've been watching this video for nearly an hour. What do we do as gamers? Well, one, you can choose to vote with your wallet, so to speak. Don't engage in the game. Don't buy Kid Omega. You can also just, outside of, voting with your wallet, just, live your life in a healthier way and just be like, you know what, I'm going to spend my votes on what I want. Which, for me, probably means these emotes, because I get a lot of enjoyment out of emotes, and I don't need a Kid Omega. I'll keep putting Infinity Ultron and Victoria Hand on the board and have great fun while someone else does whatever they're doing with Kid Omega. And every time they play Kid Omega, I'll send my emote to them or whatever. I will choose to live my life outside of this aggressive control that this weird economy has on me, is what I would say more from a personal self-improvement, life enjoyment perspective. But as far as if you want to do something and make a difference in the game, I would say continue to express your frustrations. Either don't engage in high voltage hyperdrive, or if you do engage, just completely ignore Kid Omega and send your message to Second Dinner that way, or just don't care. And I don't say that in a flippant oh yeah, just don't this is a game that, believe it or not, no matter how well they control it, will one day be gone, and any resources, including your time you've devoted to it, will be wasted. I don't think that's true, but that is the leading consensus, the leading phrase that people use. So just like, like ease off the anxiety that you have about a game. Ease off this like worry you have about this made up economy of these things called volts. Just ease off on this control that you feel you need to have over your collection, which is just a bunch of pixels that somebody is saying you own. Like, just let yourself continue to enjoy the game while maintaining an appropriate emotional distance from it. It's interesting because when I see people who try to get to this level, it's like their only solution is to quit the game entirely. And if that's what you got to do to achieve that, then that's what you got to do to achieve that. But it kind of feels like the weaker stance. You by doing that, you are letting the game control you. And I'm a big fan of being somebody like be someone who's intentional and you control the game. Doesn't sound right, but that you control how you interact with the game instead of letting the game control how you interact with it, if that makes sense. And maybe that means you control that you're not going to act with it anymore and you delete it completely. Or you control that you are going to interact with it, but it's going to be in a healthier, less emotionally engaged, emotionally charged way. That's what I would say. At the end of the day, as much as I care about at Second Dinner, because like from what I can tell, the people who work at Second Dinner seem cool to me, and I want them to have a good time at their job. I want them to have a good time in their life. I want what they create to be successful. I also think Marvel Snap is an incredibly fun game, and I don't want it to go anywhere because I enjoy playing it. And like, I want to keep using this emote and keep playing. You guys couldn't even see my emotes when I was talking about those. Like, I want to keep using emotes and keep, playing Infinity Ultron on the board, even though people say he's a bad card. I want it to stick around. But more than those two things, I really, really deeply care about people. And it makes me sad, and surprisingly, I mean like really emotional about this. It makes me really, really sad to see how much people let these made-up numbers in a game affect their real life. It is frustrating, and it does affect your real life when you care about something and the thing you care about doesn't go well, or you feel like you're losing your connection to it because outside forces are making it less hard to be connected to. That is a frustrating experience, and you're totally valid in feeling that frustration. But you can be frustrated by it and then not let that frustration control your life. Validate the frustration, acknowledge it, and then move on from it. And don't... It just makes me sad to see anyone letting anything, especially as insignificant as a mobile game, have that much control over their life. And so I sat here for an hour of my life and rambled about something with the intent of hopefully helping you, the player. In the process, if I can help the health of the game, I will do that. But my primary motivation is interested in helping the health of you, the viewer and the player of the game, because in the most sincere, authentic way possible, I really just care about people. I want people to have a good life. So if you're here, once again, comment a pineapple emoji or the word pineapple. Better yet, I've got this ice here. Let's just say pineapple drink. Believe it or not, this had pina colada in it. Like, it was I don't drink. It was a pina colada flavor of an icy. It's very good. Anyway, so pineapple is what we'll say if you're still here, because I care about all of you, and I want you to enjoy things like pineapples, I guess. It's also just like the OG emoji that we had from one of these long rant videos. This was way longer than I expected. I feel very weird that at the beginning of this video I mentioned Guest Gaming's video and said, yeah, 40 minutes is a lot of time to spend on a video, and I've been recording for 54 minutes. Hopefully it's shorter than that for you, but either way, I'm so sorry that the first video I recorded or released, let me clarify, the first video that I published after this unintentional break I had to take for unrelated reasons to the game is one that is so negative. But I'm so excited to be back and engaging with all of you because I missed that. I love engaging with you, my viewers. So I'd love to know what's happening in your life. What unrelated to this fiasco, what have you been enjoying in Marvel Snap? Because I'd love to talk to you about that. Or what have you been enjoying outside of Marvel Snap if you've been enjoying something? I love engaging with you guys. So leave a comment if you're still here. That would mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching.